straight and right. By the light of the word.
Today on Light of the Word with Pastor Ray.
Satan here sees opportunity. So he sees an opportunity. Okay, Israel called for a king. So now they've been in peace and prosperity under Samuel. They haven't had a war in 20 years. They call for a king. They call, and Nahash would know. They know the land. This isn't like they don't know what's going on across the river. Saul's now king. And here comes Nahash. Oh, this is opportunity. Saul's not going to rally.
Open your heart to us, Lord, so we can know your word. We come before you, Jesus. Speak to our hearts as we discover your love for us. How wide, how deep, how far. Pour into us so we can learn to follow. One surrender at a time. You have made the way for us to know you, a path that's straight and right. By the light of the word.
The Bible says that Satan roars like a lion, waiting to pounce on anyone he can devour. In today's message from 1 Samuel, we will hear about a time when Israel appeared to be trapped in by the enemy. However, God was faithful to deliver Israel. There will be times in the life of every believer when we are surrounded and opposed at every turn. However, the Lord God is greater than any enemy, and He is faithful to remember and deliver His people in His way and in His timing. Well, let's join Pastor Ray for today's edition of Light of the Word from the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 11.
1 Samuel chapter 11. So, recap, and I'm going to make a short recap today. Israel asked for a king. God gave him a king. His name's Saul. Samuel anointed him. Samuel gave him warning. Do you really want a king? They said, we must have a king. We want a king to lead us into battle. And here we see the king going into his first battle. And I just find massive, wonderful manna for us today. So let's just get right into it. 1 Samuel chapter 11, verses 1 through 3. Then Nahash the Ammonite came up and encamped against Jabesh Gilead. And all the men of Jabesh said to Nahash, make a covenant with us, and we will serve you. And Nahash the Ammonite answered them, on this condition, I will make a covenant with you that I may put out all your right eyes and bring reproach on all Israel. Then the elders of Jabesh said to him, hold off for 7 days, that we may send messengers to all the territory of Israel. And then, if there is no one to save us, we will come out to you. So Nahash means serpent. He's a picture, of course, of that serpent, Satan. And so here we have a picture, a spiritual picture that we can draw from. And Jabesh, some call it Jabesh. Jabesh is on the east side of the Jordan River. The promised land is going west. If you remember the story, it was Manasseh, Dan, and half the tribe of Manasseh. I said that, half the tribe. So 2.5 tribes of Israel are on the east side. They're going through the wilderness wandering with Moses after Egypt. They come up to this glorious place of Jabesh Gilead. It's beautiful, fertile ground, lush fields. And they say, hey, Moses, when we take the land, we want to stay here. We want to stay on this side of the Jordan River. We don't want to go into the promised land. We like it here. So here they are. They're on the east side. They're outside of the promised land. They're on their own, if you would. And so here comes Nahash, the serpent, encamps against them. So he makes this encampment. He surrounds them, and here they are. They're surrounded, and Nahash comes, and he's ready to totally destroy them. And Jabesh Gilead, they know it. And so they said, make a covenant with us. So see, Nahash, he'd be happy to just go in, destroy them, take all the plunder. But the children here of Jabesh Gilead, they said, we'll make a covenant with you and we will serve you. So Nahash, he looks and he goes, nah, it's not a bad deal. Because you know what? I can plunder you once and take everything, or I can plunder you once and put tribute on you. And you will serve me, and you will give me 50% of your grain. You'll give me 50% of your ox and your cattle. This isn't a bad deal. You'll cut wood for me. You'll bring water for my people, whatever it may be. And so he says, yeah, I'll do that. Not a bad deal. Okay, I'll take you up on that. Under one condition. I'm going to poke out your right eye. To which my response immediate would be, I don't think so. Let me poke out your right eye and become a reproach upon Israel. So he has a twofold purpose here. Demoralization. I'm going to poke out your right eye, and you'll be utterly demoralized. Husbands, let's rewind the clock. This is 1000 BC. Let's rewind the clock to 3,000 years ago. And somebody comes into our land, our Maryland. They're going to encamp against us here, and this is what they offer us. And I want you to think what it would be like every night, sitting at the dinner table, looking your wife in the eye with one. Imagine your children, Daddy, what happened to your eye? And imagine having to tell your sons, this is what happened. And imagine the question, why did you let them do that? Why didn't you fight? So here's this great demoralization. And as a man, any man here, how much of a man do you feel like in front of your wife? That she would look and see you every time a man who didn't fight. You would be demoralized. And it would pass down to your children. The children would be taught, don't fight. It's better to become a servant. It's better to have an eye poked out than to fight. Imagine the demoralization that would happen here. And now, secondly, from a military standpoint, how many people in here are right-handed? How many people are left-handed? 3, 4. That's about the average. 90% of the people are right-handed. So, shield, left hand. Shield, left hand. Sword, right hand. Shield, up. Shield covers half my face. I got to remove target. So where's my left eye? Behind the shield. I fight with my right eye. Take away my right eye. Now I take away my shield. Take away my right eye, take away any eye. Depth perception, gone. Peripheral vision, gone. Shield down. You can't fight. You can't fight. So here he comes. He's like, that's not a bad idea. I'll take that. I like that idea. And you know what? This Nahash, he is confident. He has no worries that even if they call Israel, that he won't defeat all of Israel if they come. And you know what's interesting when you look at this and you think of these things and look at these things through, Satan here sees opportunity. So he sees an opportunity, okay, Israel called for a king. So now they've been in peace and prosperity under Samuel. They haven't had a war in 20 years. They call for a king. And Nahash would know. They know the land. This isn't like they don't know what's going on across the river. Saul's now king. And here comes Nahash. Oh, this is opportunity. Saul's not going to rally. They're king. They put Samuel down. This guy Saul's up, man. He's 30 years old. He's not going to be able to do anything to me. Here comes opportunity. Here they are on the east side of the Jordan, totally separated. This is easy prey for me. And if they do bring somebody up, if they do bring an army, it's going to be nothing that I have to worry about. And you know what? after I take Jabesh Gilead, I'm crossing the Jordan anyways. I'm coming and I'm going to swipe through and take all of Israel. I'm going to take all the plunder out of Israel too. So you know what? Send men up, make it easier for me, because the more you can send to me, the more I can just kill right here on the spot. I already got my men. I already got my military. I don't have to do a logistics thing of having to travel with all this stuff. Bring them up. Can I say this to you? Satan has absolute confidence that he can whoop you. He has absolute confidence that he can whoop you, and he has no worries about it, even if you bring reinforcements. So here's Jabesh Gilead. They're on the other side of the Jordan River, and let's just look at them real quick. They continually, the ones on the east side of the Jordan River, they're continually the ones who are taken down first because they're over. You know what they lose? They lose the Jordan River land barrier. So they don't have the Jordan River as a land barrier to slow anybody down and to have warning, here comes an enemy army marching. But you know what they lose? They lose the assembly of the brethren. Those 2.5 are over on the other side, and they're separated from the other 9.5. If all 12 are together, there's strength in the power of the assembly. There's power to sit with all 12 of us together. And what does the Lord speak to us here in this assembly of the brethren? He tells us in Hebrews chapter 10, do not forsake the assembly of the brethren. And do you know why? Let's read it. Therefore, brethren, having boldness to enter into the holiest by the blood of Jesus, by a new and living way, which he has consecrated for us through the veil that is his flesh, and having a high priest over the house of God, the tabernacle, then the temple, will be in the promised land, not on the other side. Let us draw near with a true heart in full assurance of faith, having our hearts sprinkled from an evil conscience, of our bodies washed with pure water. Let us hold fast to the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who promised is faithful. There's a promise, God's faithful. And then here's what he says to us as we come together in assembly. And let us consider one another in order to stir up love and good works. He calls for the assembly of the brethren, come here, don't stay out here, don't stay on the other side of the Jordan, don't stay separated from your brother. You come here, and God stirs us up. God stirs us up through the word. God stirs us up through worship, and God stirs us up through our conversation. God stirs us up through the pictures of baptism when we have these baptisms here, and he stirs us up, and we leave here confident in our high priest. We leave here confident in our God, that God is for us. And you know what? The further you are away, because the spiritual hub, Shiloh, and then it's going to be Jerusalem. Right now it's Gibeah. We won't go through all those details. It will become Jerusalem, and here they are. They're on the other side. The further you get away from the hub of spirituality, the more vulnerable you will be for defeat and attack. They're about as far away, Jabesh Gilead is about as far away from the hub of spirituality as you can be. And when we find ourselves removing and distancing from the hub of spirituality, where God speaks, where he moves, where we can be stirred up, and we go out on our own and we don't have time, or whatever it may be, we find ourselves coming to a place of vulnerability, a place of weakness, and a place that Satan can come and just have his way. Nahash, he's a picture of the serpent, and here he comes. Okay, I'll make a deal with you. Let me poke your eye out. It's a reproach. You know what? And it's a picture. It's a picture for that whole Jabesh Gilead of that your God wasn't big enough. Your God wasn't powerful enough to defeat the enemy. Every time you would look at yourself, every time your wife would look at you, every time your kids would look at you, there would be a reminder, your God wasn't big enough. Your God wasn't powerful enough to defeat the enemy. And Satan loves these pictures of poked out right eyes. I love the pictures of believers, married believers, divorcing. And I love the world to look at that reproach Your God wasn't big enough to save your marriage. You two are believers, and your God wasn't big enough to save your marriage. And I don't mean this, and God's not speaking to anybody who's divorced. What God is speaking to is anybody who's married today, and your marriage is on and in a fight. Is your God big enough to save your marriage? And I'm not speaking to anyone who has been defeated by drugs or alcohol. But Satan loves the reproach of drugs and alcohol, empty booze bottles, empty needles, empty drug wrappers, and whatever they may be, because they all speak, and then I'm talking to a believer, of a God who wasn't big enough to rescue you. But God would speak to you today, I am big enough. And Satan loves these reproaches. He loves to put these pictures out there because they speak a word to the world. They speak a word to your family. They speak a word to your kids. They speak a word to your fellow brothers and sisters. God wasn't big enough to save that. And you'll never stir one another up when you live in that defeat. But when God does, when we yield ourselves, and this is what we're going to see in this picture, when we yield ourselves, because at the end of this, Saul's going to give total victory to the Lord. When we yield ourselves and give the victory to the Lord, it is impossible, listen, it is impossible to be defeated by the serpent. Because this is what God does. This is our Father, and our Father's going to fight for us. You give me the fight, and I'll be there. My son Camden, I'm a man of peace, but my son Camden would never fight a fight alone. Never. And I don't think anybody in here would ever allow their kids to have to fight it alone. I'm going to come. I'm going to fight with you. And I can pretty much guarantee I think I can whoop whoever's going to want to fight you. But Satan loves these reproaches because then people look and go, man, God wasn't big enough. Oh, but when God has the victories and we come here and we stir each other up, let me tell you what Jesus Christ has done. When we come into this baptismal pool, let me tell you what Christ has done in my life. Oh, see, I think Nahash, I don't think he really thinks they're going to come help anyways. Anybody remember the story of Jabesh Gilead? It's a sword story. It's a sick story. God just reports the news. He doesn't try to hide anything. Back in Judges chapter 19, 20, 21, remember that study? The perversion of the city, and then the rape of the woman, and the demembering of her body and sent out, and they come to fight against Benjamin, and Benjamin won't stand down, and so then there's this great slaughter, and they kill all of Benjamin. There's only 600 of them left, and then they say, well, now what are we going to do? We wiped the whole tribe out. It's going to cease to exist, and they go, we need to find them wives, and wives of Israel. They can't marry foreigners. What can we do? And then they go, who didn't come to fight? Remember we said, whoever doesn't show up to fight against Benjamin for this horrid sword act that they did, we will wipe you out. And there was a whole group of men up in Jabesh Gilead who didn't come. And the story gets sicker, and it's not by the will of the Lord by any means. They go up and they wipe out the city of Jabesh Gilead, and they give them 400 virgins. 400 virgins to the 600. They get the other 200 from Shiloh, if you remember that story. Jabesh Gilead doesn't have a great relationship with the nation of Israel, do they? I think Nahash is sitting here going, you know what? There ain't nobody coming. Ain't nobody going to come rescue them. And I want to tell you, I think Satan loves it when that's the story. I think Satan loves it when a believer is down. A believer is up against the wall. A believer has an encampment of the enemy around them, whatever it might be. Again, maybe a marriage is under siege. Maybe a person, a brother or sister is under siege of drugs and alcohol. Maybe a person is just under siege of faith and they're struggling with that. And then a call goes out, we need help. And there's a whole nation of Christians that go, I can't. I'm busy. I can't go, you're going to have to be on your own on this. Or one of the great excuses is, you brought this on yourself. You guys, you knew, Moses told you, you should be living inside the Jordan side. You should be living among the promised land. You guys put this upon yourself by living out. Now you're going to call us to come bail you out? Come on. And I want to tell you, Satan is as happy if you show up, because he's so confident he thinks he can wipe anyone out. But we're going to see there's a twist. But he has the confidence to think, I can whoop anybody, 1 or 1,000. The more the merrier, because I'll defeat y'all. But the table's going to turn on him, and God can turn the tables. But he's just as happy of, oh, I love it. They didn't show up. And so now here's believers going, man, I thought they were my brothers. I needed help, and nobody helped me. What is the good of going to church? What is the good of being part of a body if nobody helps? Or Satan has that place of where believers go, they have it coming to themselves. I'm going to be the justice right now, and I'm just going to let it be and let you deal with the decision that you made. Because you know what happens more and more and more? Every time we go, you know what, I can't help, because we determine why they deserve to have it coming, or we determine that we're just too busy to help. The next fight that comes, we find ourselves again, I can't fight. Or we even find ourselves of, I knew I should have fought, and I didn't. My brother needed me. My sisters needed me. They were under siege, but I chose not to fight. I let them stay out there on their own, and look what happened to them. Because you know what happens when we don't fight? When we come here, we don't have stories to stir one another up. Man, so-and-so, I was under siege, and they came and they prayed with me. I was under siege, and they spoke to me. I was under siege, and they gave me a word of encouragement, and I was able to stand up, and I was able to fight and face the battle. You don't hear those stories when people go, you know what? Nobody shows up. I ain't showing up no more. I just go by myself and be on my own, and then there you are, out there, away from the spiritual hub. Satan, Nahash, they don't show up. This is awesome. This is just as good. Now, verse 4 and 5. So the messenger came to Gibeah of Saul and told the news in the hearing of the people. And all the people lifted up their voice and wept. Now there was Saul coming behind the herd from the field, when Saul said, what troubles the people that they weep? And they told him the words of the men of Jabesh. Do you notice that it says, now there was Saul coming behind the herd? Some might say this is very humble of Saul. Back in verse 1 of last week's study, then Samuel took a flask of oil, poured it on his head, and kissed him and said, is it not because the Lord has anointed you commander over his inheritance? And then we know the story. He's hiding behind the equipment. He's, and people go, isn't he humble? No. This is not humility. God told you, confirmed it with the prophet, that not one word ever failed, we're told. God told you, you are my commander over my inheritance. You are the king of Israel. The people have asked for you, and I've given you as the answer to their request. Your very name, Saul, means desired.
You have made the way for us to know you, a path that's straight and right. By the light of the word.
We're so glad you joined Pastor Ray Bolus today for Light of the Word. This study in 1 Samuel has been taking us further into God's process of fulfilling promises, and it may not look like we'd always wanted to. God gave a promise to David when he was young and unequipped to handle the magnitude of what was to come. God still gave him a glimpse to the future, though, and walked with David to help him grow and learn. God's plan included trials along with the victories, but he was faithful to David throughout. Maybe today you're waiting for God to fulfill his promise, or maybe you're in the midst of a trial along the way. Don't fear. God is as faithful to you now as he was to David. He will bring you through, and you can lean on him for strength and comfort in the waiting. We'd encourage you to read ahead in 1 Samuel and discover for yourself how God works life out, and let Him encourage you through it. If you'd like to hear more messages from this series or read Pastor Ray's notes on the book, visit ccaac.org. You can find these as well on our mobile app. Taking God's Word with you on the go is a great way to fill the spaces in your day. Find a link to download at ccaac.org. That's all we have time for today. Join Pastor Ray next time on Light of the Word, illuminating the heart of God.
You have made